Hi lovelies, I'm doing an upload. I'm at the beach, so I'm in the parking lot because if I did it near the ocean, it would be much too noisy. Although I did take some uploads of just the waves crashing on the shore. It's amazing. And for those who don't live by the ocean, it's a nice little, reprieve where you can just listen to the water, and it's really relaxing. And anytime you go to the beach and you ground, which is so important, look up the importance of grounding, like literally having your feet touch the earth. You will notice such a difference, especially if you work a lot in indoors. I know that a lot of people get scared of the sun, but if you look up the statistics, a lot of the issues were because people weren't getting the sun enough. They would be working indoors much too often, so it's all about balance. And I bought my nice little beach hat. This is great to protect your hair, which I'm gonna let my hair breathe a little bit too. I actually left my sunglasses in the car, so I was like, let me get my sunglasses. But if you don't have a pair, right, this is great. This hat it's been a game changer. So, I was taking my little siesta. Oh, got hair in my mouth here. I was taking a little siesta, so I'm just chilling, and I had the hat like just chilling like this, and it's been great. It blocks everything, so this has been a nice little investment. So what do you think? I should leave it on, guys? Should I leave it on? That's nice. We'll do that. It actually looks better like this, right? Ooh, wee wee, very chic. Very chic. I love. It's like this. Take some pictures like that, right? So it's definitely been great. But what a crazy day I had yesterday, guys. I'm telling you. So I came home from work, I took a shower, and then I started hearing all kind of commotion. And I didn't upload a video talking too much about it. I may have put maybe a notification maybe on Facebook about this girl. She looked like she was spiritually unwell, and as someone who's, seen a lot, I've dealt with a little bit of depression before. Nothing crazy. I've always bounced back or whatever by the grace of the Most High. It's just a level of sadness. Everybody has to grieve. Sometimes you could lose someone. You could be betrayed. You know what I mean? A lot of things, right? So, I don't have an issue with drinking. I don't like to drink too much because some people's temperament, it just doesn't go. I'm a flower child, right? I am definitely someone who likes the herbal way of life because I just know my temperament. And so, I will do a social one, maybe one or two. It will definitely make me really tired, a little cranky. I feel very dehydrated. I feel disoriented. I could have so much herb in my system and be ready to conquer the world. But when it comes to drinking, so you have to know your own body chemistry, makeup, or whatever, right? So this girl, I seen her and I was a little, perturbed just for the simple fact the first time I dealt with her, she had a bunch of paperwork with her, which was a red flag, right? Because even if you worked in social services and you're going over people's information, you're not going to take it home with you. I mean, even when I deal with clients' information at my work, everything stays there. I'm not, you know what I mean? So there has to be a delineation. Obviously, we all know she's probably not working, right? So she, the first time my heart went out to her, she looked like she was struggling. And I was like, listen, honey, you're much too, I was trying to speak life into her. I'm like, you're too pretty to be living like this. You're still very young. Try to care about your liver. This is not, a way to live, right? And if you're going to crash out, just an FYI, guys, do it at home, okay? Do it at home where you can't get in any trouble, where the worst thing that can happen is that you pass out in bed, okay? Don't go outside. It can get really dangerous. And for you young women too, right? Guys can just come up from the woodwork. Luckily, it was me. than someone else, right? Because someone could have kidnapped her, she could get sexually assaulted, and I just don't know. And sometimes, I swear, that's why, you know, nothing gets by me, guys. I'm always like going to the spiritual, looking at the spiritual of everything. And I was calling it, like, right before that happened, I was saying to my loved ones, I was like, oh, you know, there's just something really in the air, you know what I mean? I was asked if, like, I wanted to do dinner, and I was like, I think I'm gonna fast. I feel like there's, like, this spiritual energy. Literally, like, 20 minutes before this took place, right? So that was the first time, you know, this was probably, like, weeks ago, I saw that girl, and we sent her on her way. I confiscated all the personal stuff, and then I shredded it, right? So yesterday, I come home, take a shower. Now, yesterday was like, you know, the last day of my work. You know, Saturdays are like Fridays to us, right? And I still try to, you know, mitigate Saturdays the best I can, right? So I was really pumped when I was told, hey, this is a slow season, so I was going over my hours. So they're like, oh, you know, you can leave at this time because you're already going over your hours for the week and stuff. So, you know, we need to be mindful because it's the so-called slower season, right? I'm in the fireplace industry. So I had, you know, I did some errands, came home, and then as soon as I got to, like, take a shower and decompress, you're doing all this stuff just to be able to have that little bit of solitude to relax, right? Like, I think we're owed that much, right? If that. No, that's asking for too much. So I can hear all this tussling, and there's, you know, a more mature woman that lives near me, and I kind of look out for her because her daughter has her own house and stuff like that, you know, and she likes to live on her own and stuff, right? That's why people make jokes like, oh, you live with your mother. No, she's not my mother, but I look out, she's my neighbor, but I treat her like a spiritual auntie or whatever, you know what I mean? Like, you know, I guess you don't have the heart to do that for your neighbors. Yeah, I guess not, right? I'm always like that. So, so I could hear gentlemen in the hallway, like, you know, them saying, like, you don't live here, because she's like, yeah, I live here. Now all of a sudden she thinks she lives there. I'm like, oh, we made it to invite in the first time. That's probably what happened. Now she thinks she can come and hang out, but this time it was so shocking. Like, I could have just stayed, you know, inside and let them do whatever, but I was thinking about the other lady, like, wow, she's probably scared, you know what I mean, to be outside or whatever, because this crazy lady is going, like, door to door to door, like, literally thinking she lives in these people's houses, right? So obviously she was completely inebriated, completely gone, and definitely, you know, maybe don't have a support system, which my heart went out to her. I am not the one to try to get you in any type of trouble. Like, I only intervened because I was like, all right. As soon as I came outside, the stupid girl's, like, literally twerking in the parking lot. Girl, bye. Like, probably taking videos. Girl, bye. Like, anyways, I guess everyone just needs to while out for a little bit. But, so as soon as I was like, oh, what's going on and things like that, she wasn't budging. She's like a little bit big. Actually, you know, I'm about, like, 134. She's probably, like, going on 170 or whatever, right? Maybe a little bit more even. And I'm like, looking at her like, you need to go. Can you please leave? Like, I didn't want to have to, like, touch her, and I wasn't, you know what I mean? And then she, like, bumped into me, right? And I was like, oh no, like, don't touch me, right? Because she was, like, filthy. I looked down, guys. She had no pants on and no underwear. I'm like, okay, now you've really done it. Now you're making me look at this, like, really? I'm like, I was like, you think because you're bigger than me that I'm not stronger than you? So I was like, all right, time for you to go. So I took my wooden spoon. I didn't hit her with it, right? She was all like, oh! And I was like, I had to, like a bull, like, all right, it's time for you to go. And I was like pushing her out the door and stuff. And she was so funny, right? Like, it was just too funny, right? I wasn't hurting her or anything like that. And I was just like, listen, you're putting yourself in, you know, as soon as you touch me and you put your hands on me, I'm going to be like, all right, it's time for you to go. Because she refused to leave. She was blocking the entrance. She was blocking. And then when you look outside the path, she was literally unrobing herself. So I understand like spiritual possession and all of that. And I had to put the fear of the Most High in her. I took her and I was like, look in my eyes. I was like, you think you're scary? I was like, you think you're a demon? And I wanted her demon to look through my eyes and see that I had God on my side, right? And I can turn it up too. I'm like, I was like, look in my eyes. You think you're scary? Look, I'll show you what's scary, right? And I was giving, like, my eyes are like sparkling. And she was like, oh, she got all, because a girl has to intervene in that situation because the guys can't put their hands on the woman, right? At that point, it becomes dangerous because now they can get in trouble if they try to put their hands on them. Let me take a little swig. Let these people walk by. God forbid you even get privacy at the beach, right? Gotta put that pinky up, y'all. Put that pinky up. Feeling very bourgeois. So yeah, this is the way I should have had my hat on the whole time. Have it like a flying saucer. Yeah, man. So you never know when you're gonna have to be a spiritual warrior, okay? So just like Clark Kent, you know, hey, Dia Dash, that's like my superhero. She has a little techie job during the day, right? A little nerdy job during the day. Then she got to like turn up when the situation arises. And it's not like, oh, the men around me were so weak. Actually, there was a gentleman who called, I guess, the ambulance, and the cops came, and then they asked for my name. I'm like, here we go. I'm like, I just was trying to mind my business. Now I'm stuck, you know, sucked into this storyline. I don't know if it was like some type of test. It felt like some type of weird spiritual test. And I tell you guys, like, be careful, because you never know who's trying to send like agents or weirdos after you. So I'm definitely going to have a camera. I'm ordering one to have it in certain perimeters so I can see, especially, you know, and it's good to have people, you know, neighbors that check up on your stuff when you're not there, and, you know, always have people around, because you just never know. I'm like, wow. And, you know, have things locked wherever you can, but people, you can, you know, it's beautiful out. You can have the door open. Sometimes you can have the outside door open because you're letting, you know, the air in, you're not letting the house breathe. There's something with that, you know, letting the houses breathe. But then you got people walking right in, and she might live near me somewhere like in the neighborhood, but she definitely doesn't live at the, but it was so weird. It was the same girl. I'm like, what is this single white female stuff? And I'm like, what is wrong with you? You're over here just throwing your veg around like a, you know, like an assault weapon. So sometimes it takes a girl to intervene, because a man can only do so much. Then she's going to be like, oh, he touched me. Oh, he did this, you know. And I was almost going to offer her a pair of pants. Like, I was trying to be as, you know, empathetic as possible, because she had no bottoms on, but she was so out of it and like so possessed that she probably would have took it off and threw it onto the street. Like, hey, I'm not going to give you my clothes to just throw into the trash. You know what I'm trying to say? So, the police officer, which, you know what, I know people think, oh, I'm so anti this. They have their place for when it's needed. I do know that there's a concerted attack against women, you know, and if I had my way, like, you know what I mean, I would just pushed her outside. I wouldn't have had her, you know, I wouldn't have called the authorities on her. But at the same time, I guess someone had to, because she could have came back again. And I wanted her to feel unwelcomed. It was like a familiar spirit, if that makes any sense. I'm like, this is too weird, like how this all just happened, right? And how I called it minutes before. And even in some of my songs that I put up the past few days, it was like almost verbatim. I even said in front of the cops, I'm like, I think I'm psychic. I think I'm a psychic detective. This is too crazy, right? And they were asking her date of birth, and she said something like, you know, June 6th, like 6/6. And she was like, oh, the numbers. And I'm laughing. I'm like, what's up with this numerology, order 66? Like, this is all, like, is this script? Is this a show? Are you guys recording? And I just don't know. Like, it was the weirdest thing. But, it was a neighbor that called because they had to. I mean, she would have kept coming back and back, and, you know. So if you guys are going to crash out, or if you're going through whatever, make sure you do it at home. She had injuries on her. There's blood on the side of my house. Like, what are we doing? I got to go, like, put all this hazmat stuff and clean it off, right? So she had all these injuries prior to coming there. Her feet were so dirty. She had deep bruises on her feet. I don't know if she was kicking stuff. I do know people who drink heavily can have, like, bad circulation. And it was just a weird thing because, you know, my dad, God rest his soul, he struggled with drinking. And I was like, you know, I could see, you know, that it's a spirit that, because, you know, with alcohol, it says spirits. So you are taking in some type of spirit. You know what I mean? So I almost had to speak to that spirit inside of her. Okay? So Stephanie, wherever you are, I hope you're feeling okay. She's probably in the hospital right now, needs to sleep it off, eat something. She probably hasn't eaten in God knows what, you know. Before I knew what was going on, the police were already there picking her up. And, you know, I told her, like, listen, I tried my best. I'm really sorry. You know, I wasn't trying to be tough with you, but we can't have you coming around here. You need to get some help. You know, I'll pray for you. And you really need to take care of yourself. And sometimes people need to hit rock bottom before they can go back up, right? So it is one of those things. So before you guys feel like crashing out or any of that stuff, make sure you go out into nature. Go, you know, do something, you know, worthwhile. Get out of the cities. Get out of these, you know, areas where you just feel like, you know, you're in a concrete jungle all the time, right? And you're going to feel 100% better. Like me, just spending a few hours today, I feel like $1,000,000. I could just sleep here. Please, you could bury me at the beach, okay? I don't know how some people, even people from the islands, that come here and say they don't like the beach. I'm like, what? Are you okay? Are you normal? And it's the best place to go. And you know, it's very, very spiritual. You can bring a book. I don't have Wi-Fi like that. It's, you know, it's hard to do live. So I am just making the video. It is Sunday fun day. Enjoying the sun, right? And yeah, it's just crazy. Yesterday was just so crazy. I felt like, you know, it was almost like a Godfather movie, right? But I feel like the godmother. Like, I feel like the godmother of my family. From girl to godmother. I'm like, here I am having to be the OG. This girl's still shaking her ass like, oh my gosh. It's just wild. Girl, you're distracting. Stop. What is up with all of this? Is this like some type of ritual going on? Because just the fact that I got flashed by that girl, I couldn't take it. I was like, I don't want to see that type of images. I don't like that. You know what I mean? I move in a sense of class. Okay? I move with class. People can assume whatever they want. I don't give two shits. A lot of people, especially some of these videos, have you ever noticed, guys, that some of the videos that you're watching from certain people, it's like a telepathic message that they're sending, and the audience doesn't even realize it. They're like, oh, like, you fools. Like, they're literally just sending a telepathic message because they're too nervous to DM the person or reach out or anything like that, and they're trying to be like super aloof or whatever, and it's some type of cat and mouse game. So like, you'll put something up and they'll have like a response video, and then and I'm like, and then all the people in the comments are like, oh, like, all, you know, all the girls thinking it's for them, and it's like, no. And it's almost like comedy, and I'm like, okay, whatever. But it's funny though, and people can misconstrue, and then all of a sudden like have, you know, negative stuff to say, but they have no idea who you are. They just wrote a script in their head about you, and they thought that, oh, you were just, you know, if they came to you and were, you know, attracted to your work or anything that you were doing, you know, they get annoyed because, okay, now you actually had a life, where they should have realized that, right? Or when you were free for certain situations or work situations, what have you, then, you know, because you wouldn't click their heels because, you know, they may have looked at women a certain way, right? And didn't have any home training, correct home training, obviously. Some of them needs their mothers to be shaken, like, this is the result you're putting out into the world, thank you very much, right? Because they don't give, like, you know, a good relaxing feeling when you're around them in person. They actually go out of their way to make you feel uncomfortable, right? And then try to say that, you know, you know, this person, they were just, you know, doing whatever, they were on the fast track anyway. Like, they always have to rationalize why it has to be the other person's fault, instead of actually talking to said people and being man enough to just ask and just have a regular conversation where it could, you know, if people need private conversations, especially, you know, I also mentor, I spent many years in youth outreach. If you need a question to be answered or whatever, I always leave you guys my email. It's dia-dia, just like the channel, dia-@yahoo.com. You can always shoot me a question. I know I'm not like half of you guys. I'm not going to be like, okay, you're going to ask me something and then I'm just going to run and tell whoever. I am very, very mindful and very respectful. And most people, what happened yesterday, they would have probably videotaped it, did all this stuff, you know, doxed people. I'm not doing any of that stuff. Like, I actually just wanted to act like it didn't even happen, and I just pray that that person gets help. You know what I mean? But some people will use it and try to capitalize. It's all content, right? And sometimes it's okay to just do good deeds for people, but at some point, you have to show people, you know, tough love as well. And if you guys, you know, had a question, you know, I don't mind you guys saying certain things in the comments, but just know that there's a lot of other people watching, so I'm not going to have full-blown conversations in my comment section. You know, I just don't feel comfortable doing that. You can send me, you know, a letter, an email, whatever, asking questions. If you like to support my channel, my work, my music, things like that, I'll eventually put it all on my own website and, you know, monetize it somehow too, just to, you know, get compensation for my hard work. But you guys can always support me and shoot me a little note or a suggestion or question in my Cash App. To me, that's like a safe way of doing things. Some people ask if they can send flowers to my job, and I'm like, that's really sweet and all. I don't, you know, that's fine, but I don't like to give out like the address to my job because, you know, people can just show up and do things, and I like it to be peaceful over there. But if you want to show appreciation, you can always send me a little love token on my Cash App. You guys know I like getting my coffees and the little things that I like, and that's what I do for people that I care about. I'll be like, you know, here's $50, here's $100, go do something nice for yourself. You know what I mean? Especially too with family. You know, I've done that for my daughter, whoever, like, all right, here's a couple of bucks, you know what I mean? If they're, you know, in the town over, it's just everyone is so busy, right? And, you know, that way they can do something for themselves that they need, right? And, you know, I do appreciate the thought, though. But if you had a question, you wanted to chat, you know, that would be the way to do it. But, of course, my time is limited. I got a lot going on, as you can see, right? So, yeah, guys, make sure you get into the sun. Make sure you relax. Make sure, guys, you take care of you. Everyone's talking about mental health. I'm more about looking at it like this is spiritual. The way it happened, you couldn't make this stuff up. Like, there's no look into other people's lives. There's not enough hours in the day. I don't spend my time, you know, looking to others to have a life. I already have my life. I don't waste my time living somebody else's life, right? You know, because mine's is already very full. I don't even like watching movies all the time because my life already feels like a movie, and I already have so many ideas for a movie. Like, okay, we need a movie like The Godmother. Okay, let's do it, right? I'm this, you know, petite, tough woman, like, you know, calling the different plays and stuff, right? That's so awesome. I think that would be a hit, guys. I do, really, really do. And I would make a great writer slash director, okay? Because we have a lot of different narratives going on over here. Everyone thinks all the action's on the West Coast. No. I think it's definitely on the East Coast. But I'm going to go enjoy the rest of my time. I'm going to go back near the ocean. It's so beautiful. I have taken clips, many pictures, you know, just to show the view. It's so beautiful. If you're ever in the area, definitely a great beach. We have a Cherry and Webb Beach. Of course, it's Route 88, which is so back to the future. So 88 is definitely numbers coming up. And today is what, the 17th? So yeah, 17 came up a lot also in the gematria for my channel, which is awesome. So everything is all in divine timing. And I had a request for doing a video on the third eye. Maybe we can do that tomorrow. I don't really look into it too much, although I know that, you know, your pineal gland and all that, you don't want to take too much fluoride. You don't want it to be calcified. Eating clean, getting enough sleep, you know, keeping your vibration up, moving with the right intentions, the right people, putting God first. Always, you know, take an inventory of your integrity, inventory, of course, you know. And, you know, exercise. Sun is so good. Everyone's always demonizing the sun. It's the worst, right? When you hear that. Obviously, this world is all about moderation. Moderation is the most important thing. I'll put my hat back on. So getting some sun is definitely very important, because I've done a lot of research on this, read more articles than you can shake a stick at, and people still have the most to say. I do have an old school vibe, an old school soul, and I wouldn't change that for anyone, guys. I definitely wouldn't. Beach babies unite, okay? I love it. Just being at the beach, and I know a lot of you guys don't live by the beach, but you can go to a river, you can go to a lake, all that stuff, and you're going to feel so relaxed when you get home. You're going to sleep so much better. Vitamin D is super important, and also the sun is the #1 source to get it. Okay, guys? I hope that you have a great rest of the day. Oh, I'm dropping my stuff already. Great rest of the day. Let me grab my glass case here. And hopefully you guys, you know, stay out of trouble. You know, don't drink too much. You know, I'm not a prude. I like maybe 1.5, but that's it. I don't feel the same like I do if I, you know, do a little bit of herb. I do not feel the same. I can still articulate myself. I can still focus. I feel like it makes girls like look terrible in the face. I mean, you see girls that, you know, people that drink enough, it's liable to give them Down syndrome. Have you seen like some of their facial expressions? They look a mess. And I'm like, they don't call it spirits for nothing, guys, really. And she had a huge bag of nips, and she just looked a mess. And I'm like, okay, she was obviously on a downhill spiral, and sometimes people can fall into your lap, because better than someone else, that it could be like, you know, something bad could have happened to her. So, you know, obviously they're going to have to work on, you know, the root problem, which I did tell them, like, honey, you got to see what the root problem is. And I was even trying to talk to the cops, like, maybe she lost someone. Maybe there was a death in the family. You know, who knows when the last time she ate. She could just be starving and crazy. You know what I mean? Even though she was a bigger girl, it doesn't matter. If you're just drinking all the time, you're not eating, it's going to make you a little crazy. You know what I mean? And I never rule out the spiritual. I never rule out the spiritual. I'm like, either she's a sleeper agent, some type of MK Ultra asset. Someone's putting her up to this to like case the place. Like she could be part of a larger thing. You know, so I mean, I think about all that stuff too, you know. So, but it was funny. Now I got dubbed the little bodyguard, right? Because I came out and I was so like, go back, we got this. And I looked at it, I was like, I seen her with no pants. I was like, that's it. Oh, here I go spraying. I was like, that's it. You needs to go. You needs to go. Because I'm like, I almost thought it was like planned. I'm like, you can't be this stupid. You cannot be this stupid that you're walking around showing yourself like this. And hey, she could have had a disease. She could be dirty. She could be whatever. You know what I mean? So there are people who are unhinged like that, you know, or could, you know, maybe want your life, or I don't know. Like, it is really weird. And all I can do is just, you know, have love for people. I don't want to see anybody be hurt. But also, you know, we have to stand on our ground too. People should be comfortable and feel safe when they get home. And guys, if you're gonna, you know, crash out, make sure you just stay home. That way you don't incur any problems. If you're out there, you're drinking too much, yeah, you can get confused and do all this stuff, and you can ruin your whole life just in one day. It's not worth it. And it can make you think dark thoughts that are not even there. That's what I'm thinking is happening with some people. I think they just drink and their mind just goes to dark places, and then they just come up with all of this craziness. Like, I start to think that, you know. So yes, clean your vessel, your temple, and you'll be able to tap in more with your intuition, and God will, you know, be able to work with you and communicate with you better. You'll be able to pick up on some messages. When I'm doing my art, it's literally all from my mind. I just close my eyes, and, you know, I might listen to some classical music or whatever to relax, like going to the beach. You know, I feel like, you know, I've been recharged. I mean, I can do a lot even when I feel like my glass is pretty empty. Never mind when I feel like my glass is full again, you know. So enjoy it. You don't got to always take lavish vacations all the time. Although, obviously, you know, if you can, you go. But if you're in the area, yeah, your local beaches are great. It's great for dates. It's, you know, not too much. Obviously, only with people that you have a rapport with. I would not, you know, advertise going, you know, for the first time, or recommend on a first date with someone, because you got to get to know them a little bit better, because it's so intimate. But if you have a good rapport, yes. If you're hanging out with me, beach buddies, okay, we're going to the beach, we're going to enjoy, have a little cookout, bring, you know, our own cooler, our own snacks, our fruits, cut up fruits, all that good stuff. And, you know, you don't got to do too much, right, to enjoy yourself. You don't always gotta make a huge thing, right? So yeah, I try to have fun wherever I go. If it's local, if it's far, whatever. I got some road trips that I'm planning pretty soon, so I'll definitely have a lot of different content. But tomorrow I will try to go live, so stay tuned for that. And I hope you guys have an amazing day. Take care of yourselves and have fun in the sun if you can. Bye.